you doing, folks? Hope you're all well out there. Beautiful day here in Aberdeenshire, northeast Scotland. We've been having quite an easygoing day on the farm, just getting a few little jobs done here and there. So the footage there that opened the vlog was some shots that we got of a couple of new ponds being dug in our new forest garden area. That happened a couple of weeks ago. So we had two ponds dug, a circular pond in what's the corner of our new forest garden area, and a long thin pond that we've dubbed the canal. This was a ditch that was already here that I've always looked at and thought, wouldn't that be interesting to widen and deepen and see if we could make it like a canal pond. So that's the two ponds that were dug. It just took a morning for the excavator driver to do that. We have had to make quite a few edits and tweaks over those last couple of weeks though. They filled with water straight away, which actually we were trying to avoid. The amount of water we've got coming out of our top pond and working its way through the network of ditches, it was actually quite difficult to avoid filling these ponds. The circular pond has stayed full of water pretty much, so luckily there is obviously enough clay in the soils there. It's the canal which has been a bit tricky. So the concept was that we wanted to have this long, it's about probably around 30-meter long ditch. We asked the excavator driver to widen and deepen, and he managed that fine. We didn't quite understand the angle of the flow of the ditch, considering it was going downhill, and it meant that the water didn't really level up, leaving one end of the canal free of water and the other end gathering all the water. So about a week after the initial dig, we decided to put a dam wall or earth bridge in the middle of this 30-meter canal, which I'm standing on now, to divide up the canal, making it easier to work out the level of the water. So that was fine. It was very easy for the excavator to scrape up some of the soil that had been removed in the build and make this dam wall that you can see behind me. And so it was a lovely evening when we decided to try letting the water back in again to this modified design with two smaller long ponds, and they filled up nicely. The larger of the two was very deep. We quickly sunk in an overflow pipe, just whatever we could find at the time, which was a piece of old metal guttering, to be able to feed from the larger canal into the smaller canal. And it was all going great, and then we noticed that there was water leaking out the side walls. Unfortunately, due to the access and the size of the excavator, it wasn't possible to really compress the dam walls, and I just don't think we do have enough clay content in some of the soils here. So unfortunately, the berms here started to spring a leak, and we realized that they weren't going to hold water. You can see that this top canal is actually still quite full of water, but it was much higher when the water first came in, and it's leaking out the sides here. The smaller end of the canal is completely empty, so that's obviously soaked away not only through the sides but through the ground. So that's not great, but we're not getting too downhearted about it because we've got some ideas. Now obviously we could put a pond liner in here. We could buy a plastic liner, so potentially that will have to be the case. We've had to put plastic liners in other ponds that we've got. We've looked into glaying the pond, which is using high nitrogen materials such as animal manures or green manures to cause an anaerobic situation, and that actually can seal a pond. That's a very interesting idea, and obviously a very permaculture approach to sealing a pond. But what we've decided to go with just now is ordering in some bentonite clay. And bentonite clay is a natural clay material. When exposed to water, can swell up dramatically and help seal gaps in leaking ponds or give your pond waterproof lining. So we're waiting for that to arrive. We'll experiment with that, see how that goes first. If that doesn't succeed, I think we're going to have to look at probably buying a plastic liner. Anyway, it's all good fun. Love playing around with water, experimenting with different designs for capturing water and keeping it here on the landscape, which is what this is all about. We've made these ponds so that we can capture the abundant supply of water that we've got here on the property. If you want to see a bit more of the journey to creating these ponds and also the forest garden area, which is behind me, you can watch some postcards from the farm about this new design on our Patreon. But I'm sure we'll be catching up about this soon. This is an area here behind me that I've been working on steadily over the last couple of months, thinning out trees that we don't want to keep in order to be able to turn this area into a food forest. So there you go, folks, just a bit of an update on our new ponds, the problems that we've had with them, and also how, fingers crossed, how we're going to be able to sort it. So while I've been talking to you guys about the ponds situation up here, Rosa has brought the goats up and we're just having a bit of a stroll. The goats are feasting on the brash that we've been collecting because I've been felling a lot of the trees in this section. This is an area where we're wanting to pollard a lot more of these willows and alders so that the trees basically work a bit harder for us and can help produce fodder for the goats or tree hay or wood fuel for the house. This is also just next to the canal and new pond, which is obviously going to be this new food forest. So this whole area here is going to be a lot more designed and functional than it has been over the last few years. You right there, girls, enjoying that? And then we're going to head into the market garden. Rosa's going to show you what she has been seeding for this year's veg box. We're going to talk a bit about the veg box business and our plans for it this year. We've got to go and get a pile of compost that's arrived. So yeah, better get started.
First of our seedlings for this year. Just really excited to have actually been able to sow them. There's been a few things that got in the way of seeding this year, so I wouldn't say that we're that behind, but it has just felt like a little bit more to get sorted than usual beforehand. So we did have the chickens in here, for example, and that meant, as we mentioned on the last vlog, that meant we couldn't actually store as many seeds up here. So we were using the protected cupboard over there, which has now got the tomatoes in it. And then these are the first rounds of seeds just for the main market garden. A lot of the brassicas, and we've got some broad beans, just trying to remind myself, onions, and got some spinach. That's actually just for the home because we're really craving some greens. And then we've got some early crops that I explained about before. They've germinated really well. We actually ended up having to put them on heat mats because it was just quite cool, but we've taken them off of them again now that they've just all popped up. And we've actually had some better weather recently, so that's great. This is not all of the sowing by any means, even though we are doing a slightly reduced number of boxes this year. So there's still quite a lot more to do, but the thing that then held me up after chickens and pump breaking and everything else is that we ran out of seeding compost. So we've actually just got a delivery arrived of that now, so I'll be able to finish off the kind of March sowings in the next couple of days. We actually have to go and grab that, I think, from the road because it's pretty much on the road.
Nanny Rosa.
What do you think? Do you want me to push it?
Yeah, they're pretty good. I'll back up a bit actually. That's half the delivery up, so yeah, as you saw, a little bit stuck going up the hill. It's not got the best attraction, the BCS with the trailer. It's a very heavy trailer as well.
We also always use the trailer at this time of year when it's really wet everywhere.
That's true, yeah, you're right. A lot of mud and slidey hills and things, but pretty good though. We really
it makes a difference.
Do enjoy having this trailer attachment. It's not the BCS trailer. A lot of you have been asking recently about this trailer. It's not the BCS. We bought this from BSG Tractors online. Anyway, Rose is doing all the hard work lifting these bags out, but yeah, really great to have this tractor and trailer for jobs like this, but also great to have a partner that's willing to give a push now and again.
Yeah, this is the compost, Moorland Gold seed and cutting compost. We just really recommend it. I'm sure there are cheaper brands of compost, but with this one being certified organic, it's not actually peat free, but it uses peat from filtering water and taking the peat out of the water, so it's a kind of using a waste product from a water filtering process. We don't use that much of it, even though we do quite a large garden. You know, operating at about 50 shares for the season. We got 60 bags 2 years ago, so we use about 30 bags for a 50 share CSA. Yeah. So that's our kind of like rate of use, and I think 30 bags comes to about just over £200. So we just noticed that some of the tarps have blown off one of the plots that we're going to be planting into this year. So we're just going to fix that, and we thought that we would give you a little update of our plans for the market garden and what we are changing this year. We've actually decided to give a bit of the market garden a rest this year, as well as ourselves in a way, from the CSA. We've reduced the numbers just for this year, so that we can focus on developing our accommodation side of our business, because this becomes a very full-time job when we do it at full pelt here at the 50 shares for a part of the season anyway. So just for this year we're reducing that, and that's meant that we've got the opportunity to lay some of the kind of plots to rest. We're going to be sowing some green manures and things like that, and we'll just be basically using half of the market garden to grow in for about half of the members for the CSA. And we are kind of excited about this. It's meaning that we're able to try a few different things that we wouldn't be able to try with the kind of larger number of members for our CSA. So we're transitioning to no dig. We wouldn't have been able to afford to do that for the whole garden. It does involve buying in a lot of compost to really get that thick layer, so we're really able to try that out with this smaller number of beds. Obviously we try not to ask too much of our soils through the season, and we do add a lot of organic matter back into the soil. However, it is really nice to let the soils just rest a little bit every now and then if you can. So we're really just using this as an opportunity to do that. And the other thing is that we're able to try out doing our CSA member kind of box pickup from the farm this year. It's something that would probably be a bit much to ask of our members and try and keep the numbers up as we do in other years. So this year, because since we're actually reducing the numbers anyway, we thought we'd try something out and just see what that's like. So yeah, a few changes this year and a little bit more, I guess, freedom in the market garden, because we're not trying to like really push it to its max. And so that does kind of excite us a little bit. But yes, back to, got to fix this tarp now. It's also, the wind is picking up and it's a nightmare if it gets really windy, so we're just going to go and do that now. We use tarps to protect the soil from erosion over winter especially. We hope that it will kill off the weeds in the beds. It does, and that's because it blocks out the light from those weeds. However, we do have some pretty tenacious weeds. You'll probably be able to spy them in the background there. Kind of yellow tendrils of our favourite plant, the dock, poking through. So we also get willow herb. They seem to be our two main weeds in the market garden. This was a field of willow herb when James first moved here, so come pretty far, but it's still, you know, that's one that still pops through. But it really is the docks that are the biggest problem, because they just bush out, and yeah, it seems impossible to get rid of them as well. As you can see, we also got quite weedy beds last year, so we're paying for that now. Also why it might be quite good for us to try and transition to no dig. So yeah, we're just going to see how that goes. We've got some doubts, but we'll go over them another time, and we'll just have to, yeah, see how it works out over the season. So when the tarps blow off, obviously the weeds are again able to get some sunlight and grow, so we don't want that. The soil is exposed and open to erosion and things like this from the weather, so we really want to just get that tarp straight back on. Of course, it's not going to completely kill off all these weeds, we do realise that, but it does weaken them and make it a bit easier for us to dig them out before we start cultivating for the year, for the season ahead.
So that was probably the worst weather conditions to put tarps down, folks. Don't try that at home, wait until the wind has gone.